Okay, thank you everyone for letting us know where you're from. Please keep adding on. And since we have officially started, I'll just go ahead and run everyone through the agenda for today. So, very brief overview. We're going to do a small recap of VizChitra, why you should consider speaking, and why we would urge everyone attending this event to hand in your proposals, and how you can submit your proposals to speak at the conference or also conduct a workshop. After which we'll go over some guidelines for talks, just some basic frameworks that will help everyone draft their proposal and think about their talk in a way that makes sense. What you can speak about, we have Amit joining us today, who will do a walkthrough of what makes a good talk, some example proposals that we have received, and a little bit of context about what constitutes as good proposals, as well as workshops. So we have some frameworks and sample talks that we'd like to share. After which we're going to do a 10-minute activity just to understand what ideas people have, and also just to help you pen down a 2-line summary of what your talk or workshop can be about. And we're going to do some feedback, and we're also going to add stickers and support and endorse other people's ideas. After which we'll do a very quick overview of how proposals are evaluated, so what constitutes as something being accepted, and if not, what is the next step, how does feedback work, how does reevaluation work. So a quick overview of that, and then we can open up a space for questions and answers. Does this sound all right to everyone? If yes, then I will go ahead and
So, Swathi, we should probably wait 5 minutes for people to come in. A lot of people are still joining. So before we go ahead, maybe we should just give it like 2-3 minutes for people to join.
Sounds good. I think we can do a lot more of where people are joining in the meantime.
Yeah.
In that time, it would be great if Swathi, Surbhi, Anand, you could also introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are.
Yes, very important, and we forgot. So since I'm already speaking, I'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Swathi Singh. I am a designer at Visual Labs. We are an information design agency, and I'm also part of the discourse and editorial team at VizChitra. I'll hand it over to Surbhi now.
Hey, everybody. I'm Surbhi. I'm a data journalist, which means that what I do is turn data into stories. And currently, I lead data insights at Open Network for Digital Commerce. You may probably know me as that person who keeps dropping polls in your WhatsApp community, along with Prakriti and Rasagya. So go on, keep voting. We'll probably do an exercise around it sometime. Over to you, Anand.
Hi, my name is Anand. I am a graphics editor at Reuters, specifically Reuters Graphics. I spend most of my time trying to figure out how to visualize the news, among which is also sort of working with data. I think this community we've been trying to build for a little while now, but it's now finally taking shape. And so I think we're really glad that so many of you have encouraged us to build something like this. So we're looking forward to hearing some of your proposals, and hopefully this session will help you answer some questions you may have about proposals. Okay, I think we can, if we've reached a good number, maybe we can start the session.
Yeah, it's 11:06, so I'll go ahead and move on. Okay, so another very tiny recap of the agenda in case some people joined in during intros. Quick introduction to the conference, why speak at the conference and how you can handle the proposal, guidelines for talks, and Amit will walk us through some frameworks about what you can talk about, and we'll also go through some sample talks. We're going to do a 10-minute activity to just get your creative juices flowing and pen down your initial ideas and summaries of your talks, evaluation of all the proposals, and a Q&A space at the end. So if this is your first event with VizChitra, then another quick recap of what you can expect from the community. So we do plan on curating a lot of events so people can attend and get inspired about all things data viz. We plan on cultivating and fostering the spirit of data viz in India. So we will, of course, also conduct workshops, which is happening on day 2 in June, and also find pockets for mentorship to happen throughout, and to also create and collaborate with everyone that's part of the community so we can connect and build across different domains. I think people have already started doing that as part of the VizChitra community, and I think this is something that will go on for a very long time. So our goal at VizChitra is to build a strong community of interdisciplinary individuals with a very strong and shared interest in the practice of data viz across India. And I think this has already materialized spectacularly well, and we're grateful to have everyone here because interdisciplinary being the key word here, I think everyone brings something special to the table, and we're excited about the intersection of all of our fields when it comes to the common lens of data viz. So when it comes to how you can speak at VizChitra, it's very simple. So you get to propose a session. This is the link to our call for proposals. This is something we're going to break down over the course of this proposal jam, and we'll go a bit deeper into what makes a good proposal, how you can outline your talk well, and we'll also look at the evaluation criteria, all of which ties back very well to help people understand how you can submit your proposal. After which there will be an editorial review process. We have very strong guidelines that have been set towards the review process. And after approval, the next thing to do is to prepare and speak at the conference. So I'll let Anand take over for a minute. We're going to do a very tiny Slido before we go ahead any further.
So if you can either use the link in the chat, or if you're using a phone, you can scan the QR code. Well, essentially it's trying to we're just trying to get an idea and gauge what's interesting to you. So let me just start it. And then if you want to join the link, I'll be doing this throughout the session. Feel free, I'll drop in every once in a while to say, look, answer the next question. Just to make sure that, we're trying to gauge what's interesting for you, if you have sort of more questions for us. Over to you, Surbhi.
Okay. Next slide, please, Swathi.
Do you want to show us the poll results briefly, or?
Okay.
Should I share the code?
Yes, please. Sorry, my computer.
I can do it. I can share my screen. Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Let's go. Present. Now, people are typing in. Feels like. 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah, well, Gurman shares, we 30 people have responded, so that's already
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah,
people
go
are
ahead,
not
Sid.
sure. Hopefully, by the end of today, we may be.
Yeah, we need to turn some of those no's to a yes.
Even though I'm not sure as to yes, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. When people say no, yeah, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from kind of doing this?
Let us know in the
Oh.
chat.
In the chat, yeah. Or even the people who are not sure, like what's stopping you from talking about this kind of, or talking or sharing something that you've done. Likho kuch to. Ask some questions so we can answer. Only if you ask, we shall answer no. It fits in the talk format. Okay.
If it's novel,
Is it
interesting
an
enough.
interesting thing? Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I think both of these, not sure, novel or interesting, are common blockers. what type of talk and workshop to do. That I think will help. But I want to know what's the starting trouble on like talking a lot of times is just key. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing is interesting enough. And I will tell you that everyone here looking at what the responses in the WhatsApp is doing something interesting, right? So it could be a very small thing, but you're doing something interesting already, right? So it's just finding a way to talk about it and put yourself out there. And a lot of people are comfortable doing that on WhatsApp or anonymously poll pay, but there is a little bit of fear of coming there. So let's try to get people to do, whatever you're doing, how can I communicate and share about that in a way to talk about that? And there'll be the details you go in will always make it more interesting. Idea is not full-fledging or informative enough. Yeah. So that the editors are thinking also. It's not that you have to have everything fleshed out before you propose a talk, right? So they'll also talk about this. Kiwi, how can we write a small thing right now and then we can flesh it out even more? The editors will help you do fleshing it out. It doesn't happen in one. Like in design, everything is iteration. So here also you have to be ready to iterate, but we won't know whether you're ready to iterate till you put up on something, right? So they need more ideas on it, right? So even if you think it will get rejected, or it will, and I'm scared that it'll get rejected or people will not like it. Put yourself out there and go and talk about it, right? Like it is, abhi to editor se hi baat kar rahe hain, koi zyada abhi to you haven't even reached the stage. Nothing to fear.
Cool. So thank you for sharing this, everyone. It helps having these questions in the chat as well as thoughts. We'll come to those later. Surbhi, over to you. Anand, next Slido question later on, right?
Yeah, I was just about to check if we have more questions on the Slido. But good to hear all these doubts floating around, because here's the good news that you do not have to be an expert to pitch a talk. Right? So a lot of times people don't realize what part in the work that they are doing works for a talk. A lot of times we feel what we have is not fancy enough, but here's the catch. What feels routine to you could be groundbreaking for someone else, because database, the way it works is many people are doing it in various industries and there can be cross-pollination of ideas, right? So what you are doing in your office or at your workplace or independently could be something someone else can implement. And so you do not have to be an expert. You just have to bring in your everyday work, your specific workflow, your innovative ways to visualize something complex, your optimizations and your journey basically, and come and speak about it freely to everybody. So pitch that, I would say. Next slide, please, Swathi. So why speak? You get to be on the stage to share your insights with a very curious set of people who want to interact with almost every idea that's being thrown at them. You can grow as a storyteller, you can contribute to this community, and you will also gain a chance to gain back from all of us, right? So, and also diverse perspectives matter. Like I said, database is something that is implemented in various industries. So we want to welcome all perspectives and we want diverse views on the stage. Next slide, please. So what are the themes for this year's conference? The themes this year are pretty generic. So you've got to find what aligns well with what you are doing or what you're thinking of pitching. So we have Explain and Learn, which is going to talk about processes and practices of database. We have storytelling in this section. We have accessibility, ethics, inclusion, and unique works that are happening across India, which we hope to learn from when they are explained to us on stage. Then there is Explore and Play, which is practices of data exploration, dashboard design, domain-specific or industry-specific database, conversation interfaces, collaborative interfaces, solutions that can be implemented at scale, and largely the state of data in India. So issues around collecting it, visualizing it, verifying it. All of that comes into the exploration polygon. And we have Imagine and Innovate, which is you can use new mediums, you can use new approaches, you can use AI and tech if you're already doing so. You can show us what you're doing with it, and talk to us about how you use all of these things in your data viz workflows. Are you using any emerging mediums? Are you using 3D? Are you using AR, VR? Are you using something we haven't even heard or thought about? Bring that to us. It also includes turning data into sound, turning data into touch. So data sonification, data physicalization, and experiential stuff like data art and installations. So those are largely the three buckets, or rather the three polygons in which the themes fit in, or your talk could fit in. Next slide, please. And the format, since there are a lot of questions around formats, there are some ways to structure your talk around these three themes. So either you can present a standard talk, which is typically a deep dive presentation, which is 30 minutes in duration, where you present for 25 minutes and there's 5 minutes of questions and answers, and you basically take everyone through the journey of how you did something very cool that you did, and bring us insights from your project or your process. That's the standard talk. Then there is the lightning talk. And the idea of having a lightning talk is that you could create a spark in others. That's literally what it means. So it's a fast-paced talk. You just come in for 15 minutes, talk through your idea or your concept, talk through something new that you're doing. It's going to be a 12-minute presentation plus 3-minute question and answer. So think of it as a condensed version of a standard talk. And the idea is to get maximum impact from this minimum time that is allotted to a lightning talk. Then there is teach and facilitate, which are longer sessions. So here we have two kinds of sessions. One is the hands-on workshop, where you can take quarter of a day or you can take half day. That's 3 hours, or a quarter day is like an hour and a half, where you can curate an immersive learning experience for everybody. You can build skills, you can teach, you can facilitate a workshop, you can be the instructor, and you can have participants come in and go. So that's what we are looking at in terms of format for a hands-on workshop. You're basically instructing or teaching while people are also doing stuff around you. And then there is Unconference or Birds of Feather, which is a community-driven gathering, which brings together various participants which have the shared interest in your talk, right? So the idea is that we will have people who have shared interests come together and do a session, which is an unconference session for about 45 minutes. That's the format of Birds of a Feather session. Then there is something called alternative sessions, which is where you break the mold and bring to us something very unconventional, something that doesn't fit in either of these four formats. It could be a physical installation, it could be a unique project, it could be a performance, it could be an act, right? So something that we have not thought about, but we are very, very welcome to, you're very welcome to send it, and we'd like to engage with that. So those are largely the four formats plus one unconventional thing that we haven't thought about. Over to you, I think.
That's me. So I think just before we get to the guidelines, if you could go to your Slido link that I shared, I can share it again in case you haven't, if you're just joining. Essentially, I'd love to hear what we love to hear, right? What kind of formats would you be interested in proposing? And let's have sort of a look at what people are thinking.
So lightning talk, lots of chota talk, huh? I think people are actually smaller is much harder than longer is what I realize. But I think there's a feeling that lightning has, like lightning literally means lightning strikes hard, right? It doesn't happen very quickly. So standard talks, yeah, okay, finally, standard talks are now winning.
But you're scaring all the lightning talks participants.
No, I'm being realistic here. Um, it is very hard to do. The shorter you make it, to make it interesting, it's very difficult. So not scaring anyone. Uh, be the lightning, strike at the conference, right? Oh, good. A lot of workshop people also.
Few
I
birds
want,
of a feather.
yeah, I want everyone who said an entirely new format to actually tell us what is it that you're thinking of. Always excited about that the most.
Someone saying in the chat too, we didn't allow multiple options. Yes, makes sense. People want to do different kinds of sessions. Pick your most favorite one and put others in the chat if there's more that you could.
You should have multiple options now.
Acha, okay.
Oh, you mean, okay. I think someone, Prashanto, I think had on the proposal has already put 2 workshops, right? So even if now the Slido has, but you can put more, you can put multiple proposals on the funnel. There's no restriction whatsoever, right? So here, we would love to see you give a talk and a workshop, or a performance and a workshop, and a performance and a talk, or any combination of this. And obviously, it can be scheduled in a way that different days or something, or different time slots far apart, so that you have time to recover between them. If you have the enthu, propose, or if you're tentative, propose 2-3 proposals for the same for different things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? That also can work.
Because sometimes we have talk ideas and we're like, we don't know which is the best one. If you have the bandwidth, file for all of them. The best one will on its own find its place.
Yeah, I think sometimes it takes a little bit of time also to reflect on it. Like, you put an idea, you add some thoughts, and as you're writing it, you start to get, oh, I could do this, right? So just write that and say, and I'll also be very careful in my talks. What I write, then the next step with the editor is slightly different. The editor is slightly different. The final talk is also a little different, right? So realistically, the ideas emerge. Ideas will, like, you have to plant the seed, but you cannot really fully see what the output would be, right? So let us plant the seed, get the editors to water it, let it flower a little bit, and then you can see how would it emerge, right? So all we want to do is stop the initial hesitation, and this jam is really to get you to, all those people who are saying I don't know anything, or you all have ideas, put something, write something, and that's the whole idea, to get you started in this journey, because sometimes the initial hiccup is really high on this.
I think even if there isn't an idea as such, even listing down what you find most interesting about your work can help other people who are in the room here refine and hone down on your idea. So, yeah.
Okay.
Over to Anand then.
Yeah, thanks. I think we can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so it's not always fun and games. I think we do have some element of guidelines that we need to follow, purely because this makes the process easier, and it also just helps us narrow down on some good ideas that many of you have. So if I can go to the next slide, please. So you can apply as an individual or as a team how you present at the conference will shape and mold that with you. It's a very interactive process. I don't think we're going to leave you fully to your own devices, which we will explain in the process later in this presentation. The other thing is, we do not want you to have hiring or product pitches within the presentation, right? This is to really showcase work. We're not looking for like new products. We really want to see, the craziest things, right? Like which are not necessarily going out to market, so to speak. The other thing is obviously we're particular about the content that you put on these presentations. A good example is obviously sexual imagery. We're obviously not going to allow that. We do want this is like good quality content, right? Sponsor talks, we do have a system which basically talks must go through a Q and rehearsal, sponsored for transparency, because look, we do want everyone to know who's behind each of these talks. If you know the next slide, please. I know we've had a couple of questions for remote talks. We are in favor of in-person talks. There's nothing more valuable than a face-to-face conversation. We do have some spots of virtual talks, but primarily if the speaker is international, right? And then also we're gonna put it to only one remote speaker per track, remote talk per track, right? So I think that's something that just to be aware of. It isn't to say that we're not open to virtual conversations, but I think those will probably be pre and post conference events if we can arrange that. But I think that's something that we're really particular about. Okay. I'm just going to hand it over to Amit, but like before that, I'm just going to drop in one more Slido because this might be of interest to some of you. If you could go back to your small screens, and it's just a word cloud of like what gets you excited about data visualization. You can just write a few words and tell us what is exciting for you. I know that was a slightly more rules of the game kind of deck, but that's sort of a necessary evil for a lot of us and how we present at these conferences.
Anand, do you mind resharing the link in the chat if you don't mind? Thank you.
Sure, sorry. Yeah, so if you're just joining again, I think just click on the link. We're just curious to hear what something's important for you.
So storytelling, obviously. I mean, that is good to see. Insights, a little more on insight. What type of insight? Unexpected insight. Actually, someone has already answered. That's also good.
No, unexpected is aha.
Yeah, this is nice. How to self-initiate projects. Okay, sea of consumptions.
Xenographics.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying somebody said xenographics, unique data viz. Yeah, Surbhi was saying.
I'm saying I love brain tickle. Whoever said that.
Yes, I think data art. Yeah, we're really looking for. I think they talked about this unexpected and like a little bit kind of installation, show and tell. Performance could be one. Data art, which is a little bit of doing something at the conference, could be also another good one, right?
Tactile data art. Tactile way and art way.
So our friend here, Rasage, teaches something called tactile visualization.
Tangible
which is
viz.
really. Oh, sorry.
Module is called tangible viz.
Tangible viz. And, I only seen tactile. I mean, usme cover ho jayega, Gurban. Like, he's not doing for braille and all that. He's actually doing for normal people. Kaise tangible banate? How do you make data visible?
Yeah.
So, tangible, anything tangible, anything data physicalization. We have expert. We have expert. He will guide you.
Lot of material. I think my favorite was where we made a visualization where the visualization is with weight. You actually have to lift things to understand the data behind it.
Ooh,
A lot of
nice.
fun stuff.
Nice.
So that's sensory data, right? So you're saying sensory, like do things with weights, food, things we use in our daily life, but we don't zoom out and see the data behind it. Bring that out. Yeah.
Amit has had this dream of doing a food event with data under VizChitra. He's
Do
like
experiments.
some data and food, data cuisine, something.
Thalis of different states.
Oh, yeah.
Sambars of different states.
Biryani. That's the
Yeah, when we were at Reuters, Anand and I were like, हमें mango पे कुछ करना है. So
this
yeah,
Maggie story's been going for a while.
it will never happen.
I'm sure some of you have seen this because it's been floating around on the internet. But there's this machine that shows how when you scroll, there's a paper slip that comes out. If
Yes.
you've seen this, I mean, if you've not, I'll try and find it and put it in chat. But something like that is unconventional. It's a physical installation, but it tells you how much you scroll in a day. Literally, there's a like a fan going around, and it scrolls every time, and there's a slip coming out, and there's like heaps and heaps of like toilet paper, like rolls coming out of your scrolling. So that is sensory, right? Database. So just as an example, I'll try and find it.
I'm also hoping a lot of people who did not respond to the first poll or were saying no, that they don't want to propose a talk, may get excited to some of these ideas. Some of these are essentially things that people want to hear more about, which means if you have a perspective, you should propose a talk.
Like someone is saying here, how people do self-initiated projects. If someone who does self-initiated projects wants to do a workshop or do a talk on it, that is also, sometimes you think about it's all about data viz, but it is also the soft skills that you need to be able to do this kind of work. So what does it mean to build a data viz team? What does it mean to do self-initiated data viz projects? How do you get that discipline going when you have a daytime job, but this is your passion? These are all legit topics as well. So I just want to put that out there too.
Okay. Speaking of all this excitement, there's no better than Amit to tell you what you can speak about and how you're going to go about it. If we could just go back to the main presentation, please.
Yeah, I will just.
So,
My number is up, huh?
yeah,
Anand, are you saying? Okay.
So something to ponder.
So what do you speak? I think that's that's always very typical question, right? What can we speak? How can we speak? So I mean, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years, teaching as well as mentoring a lot of people over 150, 200 plus workshops, public speaking. So I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen so much stuff. And I think one of the things, let's go to the next slide. I'm trying to think that I can, let me start with a quote to thoda, showcase, how you want to tell stories, right? So one of the essential point about storytelling is that, you have to observe very closely, right? One you and I have closely observed is everyone's life. In the particular is the universal. So this is like from Roger Ebert talking about film critiquing and storytelling. But the idea is that the talk really shines when you want to talk something very particular, very specific about something that you've done. It is a lived experience. It is your own experience that you are trying to communicate. And then you're trying to show more and more details of this in a way that makes it more and more universal. It seems surprising, but you tell your grandmother's story to anyone else, even if your story is different, they will relate to it much more because they can relate to the particular about you told a story and connect it to something that they know about grandmothers in general or their grandmothers or anything, right? So one of the things that people get stuck is that I'm very specific about, I don't want to be very specific about what I'm doing. I'm now saying be very particular about the details. Like they say the devil is in the detail, I will say that the story is in the detail. It is your journey through all of that you want to tell. Could be anything, right? So obviously you can do many types of stories, you can do many types of talks, but let's one thing is obviously, you want to think about it, telling it as a story, not a slide, right? So I had at one time tried to create this, look some examples, right? A lot of people ask me, can you share an example of
Sorry, I think you got muted, Amit.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, mute yourself.
yeah. So I think a lot of people say ki bhai, ask me how to do. So I put some 6 or 8 examples of it. These are not like all possible examples, right? This is just one way of thinking about some stories and give you some hints. So there's a link, amitcaps.com/stories. You can go there. It is very categorically titled as Think Stories, Not Slides, which is the main point. Ki bhai, think stories, not slide is the main aspect. Ki how do I tell about the story, right? So what are the examples here? Now, how can we do this, right? So I'll talk through a few of them to give you an idea, right? Like one of them, for example, could be a story talk. Like the story talk, I'm now differentiating, is basically you're taking on a particular topic and you're weaving long and short anecdotes about it. Let's say you've done multiple projects on database, like Swathi in Visual is doing, right? Multiple projects, multiple clients. Now, how do I weave that together as small anecdotes, big anecdotes, and mingle them into it, right? So story talk could be like that. Or a process talk. Somebody is asking, how do I start a new database project, right? That's a very common. What are the steps in the topic? There is a process of doing it, but even each of the steps in the process could be different. So a process talk is illustrating the process, and then you kind of on the same talk a little bit about your war stories. Ki is project mein ye hua, is project mein ye hua, is project mein ye hua, right? The example here is from Varsha Joshi. If you go to the link, the Varsha Joshi was doing census at that time, and she talked about the process of census, which is by far the largest survey in the world, right? It is the population versus sample mein population ka example, right? So that is one. You can also do a demo talk. Like I show a lot of examples. Anand has done many of these. If you go and see S. Anand's work here also, or visualizing text, he's done a lot of his talks, and S. Anand is one of our co-founder, but his example is demos, like show a lot of practical work they've done and weave them together and show, okay, if you're doing network visualization, these are the 4 different ways you can do it. Here are some demos with examples of how to do it, right? So that could be one. The harder, I'll go through more, maybe, let me talk about a few that I've done and then I can link to later on. So one is like really show visual talk, like show, not tell. Telling, though we all do, we are all very good at telling. You can see me telling so much gyan. But how do we show step by step visually how visualization happen? I think this talk was around multi-dimensional visualization. I think a long time back, 13 years back, talking about different steps of visualizing in different dimensions, like escaping from flatland, kind of escaping from 2D, all of those kind of things. So visual is basically show. Very little talk, but basically show everything on the visual, right? And the last one, which I will mention, which is the performance talk, which is really hard because you need at least 2 people, someone who is doing the talking and the visualization. And in my case, I think we were doing something on coding. And there's someone else who's doing the performance, right? The live performance. And you need 2 people at least on the stage. You need that, you need that connect, the timing, a lot of rehearsal, listening for cues from each other. So normally we suggest a single speaker on the stage, because then you can make it work, because there is only one person on the stage. But otherwise we normally want 2 speakers in performance, because performance normally ends up being a collaboration thing, but collaboration requires some syncing. Last din pe aage performance is not possible, right? So performance has to be well planned, coordinated, listening for each other's. You need to know each other very well, right? And I think for those kind of performance talks and all, I'm sure the editorial will think about, can I have more people, right? Like, can we do more people? Generally, they would guide you towards having a single person on the stage, because that's the easiest one. 1 person delivers this talk is normally works. for delivering the talk, I mean, not for creating the talk, for delivering the talk, right? So, okay, 8 kind of examples. So people ask, what are the examples? You can go to the link and see some examples, even see some talks. These are talks from previous conferences that will give you some idea. Ha. Okay, next slide. Chalega. Now, how do you write a proposal ki my talk gets selected? That is also the second question. So I thought, like, let me be honest, put something out there, which is one proposal that I have written long time, which got rejected, and one that got accepted, and show you what the difference is. So think of this as an exemplar. Matlab, this is a very bad example of what gets rejected, right? Like what gets rejected. So I think this was done for outlier only, I think, Gurman. Or Surbhi, right? Like outlier had like this really restriction, 150 words will likho kuch. So I said, okay, title should be catchy. That is number one. Okay, thinking, narrative, visualization, I thought title is catchy. But if you go further down, you will see that the introduction is very generic, right? It's just talking about what narrative visualization is, right? But not talking about talk, what is the introduction. What is about the talk, it doesn't talk enough, right? And it doesn't go into then more on how will I achieve this? Like, what will I tell about narrative visualization? How am I going to tell it, right? The outline is not at all clear in this. So detail is not clear, the summary is not clear, and just the talk is like, high level, I will do this. It's like a, hey, pinky promise. I promise you I will do this. And, you know, when someone else has to evaluate and say, ki, bhai, they won't believe you. Right, you can write whatever. There is no bio also here, so I don't know. They can't know anything about the speaker. So you have to help the team convince them that, bhai, I can do this talk. Where is the credibility for doing this talk also is needed. Also, details has to be needed around that, right? So if we make it very generic, very without any detail of what I'm planning, without any clues of what I'm planning, that could be a talk, it could be an outline, it could be a mind map. It becomes very hard to do this. Right. So punchy title is not enough. Just having a title is not enough, right? We have to see something. We start to believe that this talk can mature from wherever it is right now to the final point when you'll come to the stage. It doesn't have to be perfect at this moment, but kuch dikhna chahiye, right? So like take another example of the hardest talk I've ever done, which is a performance talk, right? So I did one talk on the next slide, which got accepted. Okay, now this is a performance talk. So this was learning Djembe visually with p5.js. So it was in a JavaScript conference, but the idea was, okay, someone is gonna play the Djembe, and I will do some live. We'll hook a mic and it will do some live coding, and I can do the talking. Right? As you can see, talking wala part mera tha. Playing Djembe was obviously someone else who was much better at Djembe. So this talk clearly says, okay, we're going to be learning Djembe visually, but we will do with p5.js. P5 is a library like processing for creative coding, right? So it has a very crisp summary, or at least for me. And this is me kind of, you know, setting my own key talk. This is what I think editors liked in it, right? Don't think of this as, they never gave me this feedback, but this is what I think. So summary is very crisp. This is what I'm going to do in the summary, right? Then I've written a clear outline, why is this different from other music visualizations, right? So it's not about Winamp, or it's not about just doing iTunes visualization. We are using visualizations to learn. And then we're trying to show, okay, what are the steps of gradually showing, how will we show कि ये interesting है, कि ये sound कैसे दिखाएंगे. We're clearly listing the steps of what will be covered in the talk. So trying to give people some hint on that. What will be covered. So you have to provide that. It could be a mind map also. I've done sometimes mind map, but here it is like a bullet and an outline on this, right? Go on. So one, you will already see, go into the next slide. So we also have lengths you can already see, right? Like again, if you write only 4 paragraphs, it doesn't work. But if you have longer with more covering all the details, then obviously it is better, right? Then you explain how the talk will be done technically. Because it's okay to say I'm kar denge, but you have to at least show how we will do this, right? And then obviously you have to establish credibility. Why should we believe, or why should anyone believe in me that I can deliver this, right? So I have to establish my credibility. I have done some visualization. I have done this stuff. I'm teaching it. I know what visualization is. I also have to establish credibility for the djembe music. Like, so if it's a live performance, okay, what is the credibility of that person who's playing? Can he really stand on the stage? Can he do all the stuff? And obviously the musicians play on the stage all the time, but you have to, in this case, it was collaboration with a friend of mine, Ashok, who was a musician, accomplished musician. So he's on the stage performing. Anyway, so you have to establish your credibility to the bio, right? So this example, I mean, I'm not citing it as like the perfect example of doing a workshop or writing an outline, but it's like, okay, can you cover all of this stuff when you're trying to think about the topic? The title, context, outline, how will you deliver it, requirements, if any, and as well as talk about your own credibility to deliver it. If you give that, that gives the art. And when you see later on the editorial talk about the output, the selection criteria, that would give them some material on deciding whether this works or not, right? So let me pause there. And yeah, I mean, we go to the jam, and I think Swathi will try to get you all started on this, right? Like writing outline, 90% of the effort is getting started, right? So how do we get started in writing like something to get you started on this? You can use this, come back to this later on as what could look like a good proposal, right? So finally, jam. Yes.
Yes.
Jam.
So we will answer questions at the end, everyone, if you have any questions right after Amit's examples. But since we're talking about what makes a good proposal, we're going to maintain that momentum and move on into a little activity. So I just want to mention that this is a FigJam board, but it's an open session, so you don't have to log in or you don't need to own an account. Please enter your name and you'll be able to start filling in. Alternatively, if you're joining us through mobile, please feel free to use the chat box, and one of us here will fill out the FigJam just so that everybody's responses are documented in the same place. So whatever tool works best for you, please feel free to use that, FigJam or Google Meet's chat box. Okay, so I will do a very quick walkthrough of how we've set up the board. It's fairly simple. Thank you for joining in. It's great to see a lot of cursors in here. So we are, we've basically put together one column at the start, which is key ideas for your talk. You can feel free to stash ideas or things about your work that you find interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be a full-fledged idea, but just the aspects of your work or your craft that you are excited and passionate about and what you'd like to showcase. So feel free to start stashing those to the left. And then you can start crafting a 2-line summary similar to some of Amit's examples. This is the core of the exercise. We're hoping to really help people hone in on a really good summary, which can then inform the rest of your outline when it comes to the call for proposals. So everyone, please use one row for yourself. The columns are just a comprehensive view for everyone. So one row per person. Feel free to scroll down. We have a lot of stickies on this page. And on the right-hand side, Amit will start adding feedback. And you can also support or endorse other people's ideas by simply clicking on E on your keyboard, and you can add stickers, let's say a heart or a +1 or a star, just to validate other people's ideas. You can do that over here, either near the ideas or the 2-line summary bit. So this is a mishmash of everybody's ideas and potential areas of exploration for your proposals. And as I mentioned earlier, please feel free to add your comments in the chat, and I will be happy to start adding them to FigJam just in case we want to have everything in one place. So that being said, does anybody have any questions about this little jam we're about to do? Sorry, one important point is we've set aside a 10-minute time frame for this. So I'm going to go ahead and start our timer. So we have time. Don't feel like you need to rush. And yeah, feel free to start stashing your ideas and summaries. We'll move on to feedback on a rolling basis after that.
So Swathi, should we do feedback Now or like give 10 minutes?
I think you can go ahead and start adding feedback as and when needed. I will also add a couple of rows in case other people also want to add feedback. We can use the first column for Amit's very guided feedback. And if other people would like to weigh in, I can also go ahead and set up one more column.
Oh, this is on the green one you want me to do. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So Gyan, I think you're writing, yeah, put the points on the right. Okay, okay, AI to visualize data, yeah, I think that is generally a good idea. I mean, if you have built something
Amit, I think you
already
should,
that
Amit, you
just
should
type,
write that on the, yeah, that way others
don't get,
can
okay.
focus on their
So we want
writing.
quiet time, okay, got it. We want quiet time.
If anybody has any FigJam board related requests, extra posts, any such logistic requirements, please drop it in the chat and I can help out.
I think those who are comfortable can write their name also. Like, I mean, I think it's okay if people want to leave it anonymous, that's also fine. But those who want to, let people reach out to them, have thoda confidence बढ़ गया hai, they can leave their name and then we can try to do that. Yes, I think a lot of them, I will just make a generic point. Like we need a little more flavor of why you want to talk. So when I said in the particular is the universal, I really meant it. Like, what is the particular thing that you want to really explain on that, right? So I will talk on, example, like, I will just talk on shaders. I had quite a buzz. Okay, it's a very generic introduction. We need a little more detail on how you will do the shader talk. or what aspect about shader talk you will do, right? So we need more specific, make it as specific as you can. That will help you get more ideas also. Oh my.
In case people need a bit more space, I'm adding one more row for everyone to the left.
Yeah, I think Rasiki is already given a few, so we can and try to hit as many as we can. Yeah, this will work. Yeah, so I think product demos, like people who writing about how to do product demos and all that. Again, in the dashboard, how did you solve that problem? I guess we want to see some evidence. Key, how did you solve that problem in a dashboard? Like, if I wanted to see payments, like this is some payment example Saurabh has written. Again, like payments may, how did you solve what is the payment problem? How did you solve it in the dashboard? How did the dashboard help change something in the organization? Right? You need to look at the evidence for all of that in the top. But it could work for any topic. Like I'm not saying payment specific, but business dashboards, anyone doing like what is the business problem? What was it actually solved? Like what did you really solve, right? It could be workflow, it could be anything. Hmm. So I think participatory design, some of them, I don't know, I'm not sure whether it is a workshop talk. Like if you want it as a workshop or a talk. So like participatory design, is it a workshop? Is it, I mean, is it talk, right? So we should think about, textile and workshops is great. Sorry, we're at the end. No, I can talk or should I shut up?
I always enjoy listening to you, but I thought maybe if others are
I
others are
have
writing
co-opted
stuff.
you, huh? Yes, I
Yeah.
think. Oh no, Rasaki tactile, huh? Bolo bhai. Like storytelling plus textile. Like, I mean, I think I don't know whether you can see the example. I think topic already sounds interesting, right? Like doing something very embroidery, tactile. All of those sound interesting, but we don't see any evidence right now. I mean, I think what we need more evidence that you can deliver this. Need more evidence that you can do it. What else would you say, Rasaki, on like tactile stuff?
Yeah, I think if it's a workshop, which is what I'm seeing the proposal as, you'll have to be
Uh,
a bit more detailed about what materials, what kind of data, etc., just so that we can also evaluate if this would be a good workshop. Um, so, this is just like us giving you feedback for your eventual proposal, that when you make that proposal, add some of those details as well.
I think what normally works is like maybe I think one of the ideas is, can we get the two line? Can you first think of I try to think of a hook. What's a good hook, and then everything falls from there. But some people also think of like a two-line summary, right? What is a summary for my talk? And get the two-line talk. Or you can do it the whole Amazon way. A PR. Can I write a whole PR on it and then go? I won't go that far. It is just a talk at a workshop, but at least think of a good hook and a summary, and then the other idioms will flow from that, right? The other thing to think is, what is the audience? What is the change you want in the audience, right? The talk is about you, but the talk is also about what the audience. So when the audience listens to this, what change would occur in them? Do you want them to just enjoy, inform them about it? Do you want them to learn something about something else, right? Do you want to pitch how to do something differently, right? Change the way they believe. Do you want to change their belief, fundamental belief that this is possible, right? All of those are different changes you want in the audience. So the talk is always about you, what you've done and all of that. But the audience what change do you want them to occur? Do you want to be like a sportscaster, really doing a T20 commentary on the project you did, right? Like telling it in a very fun way. That is already good, right? Or you could do, or you want to fundamentally change them. We have to do more tactile visualization. I want you to start believing that tactile. Tomorrow you will remove your laptop from your board from this, other than for this Zoom call, very important, Meet call, and you will start to do tactile stuff, right? So what is the change you want in the audience is the other way to think about, to ensure we don't miss out on anything, right? Because the audience if they have not engaged, they will just listen to the talk, walk out, have chai, coffee, and go home, right? You want them to be thinking about your talk for 2-3 days, 10 days, right? Come back to you, engage with you on social, or whatever, right? They will come to you. They should come running to the stage to talk to you. So what is the change that you want? And not for everyone, for your audience, what do you want, right? Okay, the timer is up. So, I mean, we can start talking. Should we pick a few? Swathi, what would you like us to do? Should we pick a few and talk through this, add more? Rasaki is also adding, other people are adding, I can add more. We'll definitely add more on all of them. Sorry, sir.
Sorry, Amit. I was going to say, of course, it might be challenging to go through all in this time frame. So if we can pick and choose and discuss thoughts and feedback for a few, that should provide some insight for everyone.
Okay, so let's do that then. Okay, I'll just say the second one, Aman Singh. Right, so I will. This is the second one, talking about how to using AI to visualize data. Right now, a very important topic. Lot of people are doing in this, figuring out. So we are also looking AI infused workflow. So that part is good, right? But what is challenging in this is that I don't see any evidence in the outline that you can do something, right? Like you have either built a product or you're doing something more on this. There is no evidence on that. Ki outline kya hai, right? Or what aspect of visualization are we doing? Are we doing basic charts? Are we take any data set and do something? What are we doing? Or are we saying he'll give you 5 ideas to explore data? Or is it to explain data? So what is the product doing for this, right? So that is what I mean by evidence. It's not just saying this is a good topic to do, right? We are not doing prompt engineering here. Okay, this topic is not about helping you write a good prompt. Aman has raised hand. Open the queue. Can I open? I can open.
Hi, Amit. So
Aman.
Basically, obviously this idea is not like developed in full, but the idea that I have is based off of a workshop that I did a few months back. And what we were trying to do is we were trying to use different language models. So for instance, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude. And then we were trying to just see how different models respond to the data set that we had, and how could we communicate with those models and get the most out of like what we were trying to achieve in terms of the data analysis, and then also then use that data analysis to visualize it and print the results. I mean, it's still in the works, but like it's very loosely based on this idea, and that's
Okay,
why
so
I
the
thought
idea is
about
great. A lot of people
yeah,
want to do this. Everyone wants to know how to use AI well. So,
yeah,
there are many ways to pitch this. One could be I will do a talk, I will take a data set,
yeah,
and we can't do a technical thing in this. This conference is not, it's not a data conference, right? Or not an AI
yeah,
conference. So, okay, I want to make visualizations out of this. Here is a workflow. I will take one example and show you what that workflow is, right? Like a demo kind of thing. And then
yeah.
maybe I will use another chat GPT or some other Claude or whatever else and do another demo and show you how it is done, right? But really do a demo. That could be one. The other
Okay.
could be, okay, which steps in the data analysis workflow can be actually done using AI, which are harder to do, which are easier to do. Now you're doing, you're trying, you learned something. So by data engineering, data cleaning can be done more easily. Here is one example. Or basic visualization exploration can be done. So now take one example and walk us through that. Could be one other way to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, like, you have an idea, you got in a workshop, and then you started to do it, right? And you did this project with 4 or 5 AI. Now, out of that, you've learned something.
Yeah.
Kya seekha hai? Now share that. Like, you think about what the audience wants to do. They want to improve their workflow, or they want to improve
So
one particular step in that.
yeah, and so I think I wrote a little bit about that to the next poster. That's I think there was a question: have you written about this process somewhere? It'll be interesting to think about what works and what not to use in an AI, and that's why I wrote about the little bit about prompt engineering, because different models respond very differently to whatever prompts we are giving, and that was something that we learned during that workshop, and that
Correct.
is what I want to bring
But
out.
then you have to think of not just prompt. No,
I
because
mean, yeah,
then
of course.
writing prompt.
Yeah, like writing prompt. It's just a like right now I'm just calling it a prompt because like I don't have a better word for it. But like the idea is to talk about how different AI models respond to queries when we try to do data visualization with them.
Okay,
Something like
so
that.
now here's
Yeah.
the issue. This is not a AI conference. This is not a data conference, right? It's a Viz conference,
Yeah.
right? So what can we do about, because then this will work. I mean, something we build on this idea for Fifth Elephant, another conference that I've spoken along. There we can talk about this. People are interested. There's a large audience. My problem is here the audience is I want to do some visualization. How do I do that? Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So we have to tailor for the audience itself. I think when the editors later talk about how they're thinking about the 5 guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
one of the guidelines is the alignment with the audience there or not. Right. Now,
Yeah.
if you say it may be even a great talk, eventually it can be a great talk.
Mm-hmm.
But if the audience is this is not the right place to do it, is the question they will also ask, right? Because it is not, the speakers are also trying to talk to an audience who will respond to this, right? If most of the people are like tuned out, then it won't work, right? So anyway, I mean, think about
So
it.
I want
It
to,
has a lot of potential. It's just that
Right.
don't make it about prompt engineering. Rasake go.
I want to jump in just to do a time check. It's 12:11,
Hmm.
and I was hoping that we go through some of the slides because there was also a slide on workshops that we actually didn't cover, but we had a lot of workshop proposals. And then we also had some guidelines on editorial. So how about we do this? I know the Pick Jam is already filled with a lot of ideas. For everybody who's put some ideas there but don't have any feedback yet, give us a day and some of us will spend some time, give feedback on every sticky that is there. So that's at least from our side, like a promise. And then if tomorrow, maybe on the Sunday, you come back on the Pick Jam, you probably will have some more feedback. You're welcome to reach out to any of us and maybe we'll send, actually like Friends of VizChitra is a good place to continue some of this conversation. If you want to, you can also directly message some of us. Or you can send a proposal on the actual proposal website, and then later we will continue to sort of iterate. So the proposal that you post on the ASCII funnel isn't always like, oh, this is fixed in stone and therefore cannot be changed. Often people like in the editorial team will share some comments on it, and you can always like iterate on it as well. So I'm hoping that makes a few people comfortable that it's not like a Google form that you submit and then you can never edit it. We want to make it a dialogue. We want to make sure that we support people who are unsure about an idea but have something interesting and craft it. And even for those who probably don't make it to the conference, I'm still hoping that your proposal becomes strong enough that you either propose to a different conference or during some of our other pre-events. We want to do like a lot of pre and post events as well. So yeah, hope that helps. I want us to maybe jump into the presentation now. So give me 1 second and I can.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
So we'll get back to the slides. Swathi, I'll share.
Oh yeah, if you can share, that would be
Thank
great.
you so much, Surbhi. Yes.
Someone's asking proposal template. Oh, that's okay. Do we have? When you click on that link, it will give you the topics. I guess if that's what you mean by template, then we have a template. Like when you click on make a submission, it will open with 4 or 5 questions. If you fill that, that'll give you an idea of that. I mean, if that's not working, we can talk about more ideas on this. Let me quickly jump back and come back to template, say workshop type. So we talked about workshop, we talked about talk types. What does it mean about workshops, right? So now, again, there is no one answer in a workshop also, right? So I wanted to put some examples here, which I've seen or which I've done, which could invite, right? So one is exemplar workshop. You take an example, a really good example of visualization and try to teach people how to do it. And that workshop for 2 hours or 3 hours is trying to people to reconstruct a variant of that example, right? So it is an exemplar workshop. I think Shirley Wu had done one on making her flower visualization with D3, right? So that was just like, or with SVG, right? So that's one example on that, right? What I typically do, or one a very common one is 0 to 1 workshop. I call it 0 to 1. Is basically how do I get started on this topic, right? So if we're doing interactive visualization, how do I get started? Or using ggplot, how do we get started, right? Now 0 to 1 can be about a tool, can be about a theme on it, can be about like a very niche topic, but it's basically getting people from 0 to 1, which is the hardest problem in getting people to do. The third one we can do is obviously a tool deep dive, right? So a lot of people have said, I want to learn this particular library or this particular, or I've used this library a lot, right? For visualization. It could be in R, Python. It could be a GUI tool like Tableau or Data Wrapper or something. And I've done a lot of that, right? And we will go deeper. We will hack the tool to do all the things you could never imagine is possible. You could even do it in Excel. Excel, how can we make all these fancy charts? You don't need a new tool to learn. How do you use it in Google Sheets and Excel, right? So that's a tool deep dive workshop. And the last one, again, another common example is X to 10X, I'm calling it. Like, it's the more next step after 0 to 1. Like where you say, okay, you already know maybe something, but do you really know how to do this? Can you really make a chart in this, or can you really do this funky stuff with this cartography stuff? I want to go deeper into Kepler or DeckGL or QGIS, whatever it is, right? Do you really know thematic cartography, right? It's like really posing the question, going deeper. And it could be a very niche topic, right? Because workshops normally need only far less people, right? Like 20, 30, 40 people is enough to do it. And there are always 30, 40 people keen to learn that thing that you want to teach. So don't think of that. Again, the only advice on workshop, and this is my last thing talking, after that we'll hand it back to editor, is that you think of it as a ladder of abstraction. I want to take people one step among as they learn, right? So one step at a time, they will start to learn. The outline should reflect that how will I get people to learn? Because that's the idea of the workshop key. How am I going to get people to learn? And I can think of 3-4 things that are really important to have in the outline. Is there a space for us to, kind of showing the concept and getting people to assimilate that concept. How will you make that happen, right? Is there a space in the workshop for experimenting and practicing? Is there a way for them to do complex thing? Planning for application is saying, I want to apply it to my case. How is there a case for doing that, right? Can they take what you learned and apply it to their real life problem, right? And there is a space for reflection in terms of what you're teaching between modules, between the whole thing. Are they learning not only just by doing that, but by reflecting on what they've done or thinking about how this reflects on this, right? So these 4 elements have to come. Basically, you're trying to take people up the ladder from X to 10X, 0 to 1, show them how to do something they've never done before, right? They're walking up a ladder. You have to gradually, kindly, with holding their hand, take them up the ladder. How will you do that is what you've done. I don't think there is like a story deck here, but I put a link to some of my proposals on GitHub, which you can see there below. And you can maybe get some examples of some workshop or like how outlines could be written, right? So that would be another way, right? Swathi or
Yes.
Surbhi.
So we're going to do a very quick summary of how everyone's proposals are evaluated. Like I mentioned before, we have a very strict set of guidelines and frameworks that help us assess the proposals that are coming in. So the next slide. Yes. So we put together this tiny little rubric. Please feel free to take a screenshot because these points can help you refine and solidify your proposals further. I will do a row by row breakdown. So we'll start with proposal outline and we'll see what kinds of outlines in your proposals result in a very strong and very unambiguous decision to go ahead and accept. Followed by maybe, which means that your proposal is interesting, but it probably requires a bit more work, in which case we will provide feedback and I'll go over the next steps as well. And finally, what constitutes as a proposal being rejected. So coming to proposal outline, for strong accepts, the abstract is crisp and precise. That was the goal of doing the 2-line summary bit. The proposer has outlined the flow really well, and there's been a lot of effort to explain the key takeaways to the audience for the proposed talk. In this case, a maybe would be that the problem statement is quite interesting, or the proposer has touched upon a new and upcoming area of innovation or work, but the flow of the talk might need a bit of work. That, in which case, we'll provide some feedback and request you to put together like a mind map or some draft slides, and then people can resubmit their proposal again. And coming to a rejection, the description was probably too thin and not many details have been included. Like Amit has been giving feedback over the course of the FitJam. We saw what helps proposals fall under the strong accept and the maybe. So it's good to stick to that direction. Coming to the quality of the idea, in the case of strong accept, the core idea is original, engaging, and captures the themes of the conference. These are the 3 buckets that Surbhi walked us through earlier. It can be, we'll share the presentation with everyone when this forum is done. Please feel free to go through those buckets as well in case it helps with alignment and refinement. And in case of maybe, the idea has merit, but it doesn't fully align with conference themes or might not be the most novel idea. And in case of a rejection, it's probably very derivative or has not aligned with conference themes well enough and might not be something, and it might be something that has been repeated fairly often in the past. The third point is the value of takeaways of the talk or the workshop. So it's great if the takeaways are clear and relevant to the topic at hand and very attuned in keeping with the audience groups that will be attending the conference. It's great if the takeaways are practical and innovative, something that the audience will benefit from and people can apply in their work or their practice right after. In case of maybes, again, the takeaways are not very clear, but with some work, and if they have potential and with some refinement, it can absolutely be reassessed and accepted with a little bit of finesse. And when it comes to the values of takeaways that could be rejected, it's probably fairly generic or common knowledge, or the takeaways are possibly a bit unclear. And the fourth point is alignment with the audience groups attending the conference. So if we're able to define the target audience very specifically,
Yeah, I think Swathi was breaking up. I think strong accepts are, you can clearly see what is a strong accept. What is really working because the outline is good, the quality is good, the takeaways are great, the audience is the right audience. You have shown credibility on it, right? So strong accept is like very visible in an outline, right? Like you can clearly make out the edges and a strong reject. I mean, the editors have called it reject. I will say some are strong reject. You sometimes know this is not much thoughtful, right? Like I think the term uses being lazy, but you need to at least put a little effort. And the idea is that you with strong reject is easily you will see, right? And the maybe is where I'm really hoping all of us on the fig jam right now are, right? Maybe I'm not right now on the strong accept phase. I want to go from maybe to strong accept phase, right? So how do we get people from maybe to strong accept phase? And the editors are willing to work on that, right? Anand, and Surbhi, you want to add something? Swati's back.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to jump back in, Anand?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, we go ahead because you can tell folks about the process.
Yeah. So in case of a strong accept, we will immediately revert to the proposer as soon as we're able to, and request you to prepare draft slides or a mind map that just solidifies the flow of the talk a bit further, which acts as a precursor to you fleshing out the actual slides that will be presented at the conference. So after which we will conduct first review and I'll let you know about next steps. You can build on the presentation even further after that. And finally, we will confirm the talk and move on to marketing the speaker and their content. In case of a maybe, next slide please, we will communicate with the proposer to conduct a first review. We will try to understand the content's flow and takeaways, and we will also provide a fair bit of feedback that can help you move from the maybe to the strong accept. There will be a second review process wherein we will request you to submit a few draft slides or a mind map just to, zero in on your idea and the flow a little bit more. After which we will reevaluate the submission and the cycle begins again. In case of a rejection, this doesn't mean that you can't resubmit again. This is still very much the possibility of reject moving on to the maybe and then to the acceptance stage. But basically, constructive comments will be left to the proposer to add more details. For most part, a rejection is likely due to a relatively incomplete proposal that was submitted. So we'll request you to add more details or build on a few details even further. Please submit a refined proposal and then we will reevaluate the submission. So these are the three buckets and the three criteria through which we assess the submissions. And April 15th will be the deadline to submit your proposal. So we have a fair bit of time in between. Please make use of the time in between so that there's more room for feedback, more room for discussion and iteration. And yeah, we will reach out and provide feedback whenever possible. And I think now we can open up a Q&A space. I'm sure there's quite a few questions that people might like to
ask. Either raise your hand or just drop a comment into the chat box. We'll be happy to answer them.
Maybe just to warm people up, if you have some FAQs or something, maybe we can see those. And maybe that sparks a few more questions.
Yeah, okay, so I can do a very quick walkthrough of this as well. So there are some FAQs that we've put together over here. If anybody has questions in the meantime, please feel free to make use of the chat box. But number one, do speakers get extra tickets? Unfortunately, no. The conference ticket is only issued to speakers. And if someone is accompanying speakers, they will have to buy their own ticket to attend the conference. Very big, very important question, which is, are speakers paid? We have decided that speakers will be paid an honorarium of rupees 3,000 per talk, and instructors will be paid an honorarium of INR 5,000 per workshop. So an honorarium is an amount that conferences typically set aside as the fixed scale that all speakers and instructors are paid to honor their time and their commitment to being part of the workshop. So these are the honorarium rates for VizChitra. And are we paying for travel and accommodation? So yes, on a need basis for outstation speakers traveling within India, we have allocated particular budgets, but we will need to have detailed conversations. So after approval of a call for proposals, when we reach out to confirm your talk and to market and ask you more details, we can have the travel and accommodation conversation as well. But to answer the question shortly, we do have some fixed budgets that we have set aside, and within those constraints, we can take care of outstation speakers in India and their travel. And finally, yes, speakers will be given a lunch coupon at the conference to redeem for your lunch on the day of the event. So these are some FAQs, and we can move back to some open questions right now.
I think Samriddhi, you have a question about if there's similar themes for a proposal, what would be the criteria for selection? I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that, but I think the general idea, one is we could potentially pair you up with that person if there's an element of, there's overlap. Perhaps you can combine together. But if that's not, I think, an option for you, then perhaps, I think the stronger proposal would have to win out. I think that would be the thinking around that, but I'm open to hearing if there's any other ideas about that.
I think one
Yeah.
of the ways, oh, Rasaki, you may have,
Okay,
like,
on.
one of the ways people have done is like pair the talks one after the other in the schedule, right? So if we really like both the proposal, what there could be some differences in each one of them, right? And then you kind of plug them in the schedule at the same one after the other, and they cover different aspects about the same topic, right? If they are same theme, same topic, right? But there's nothing normally that stops people from talking about multiple same theme in multiple different lenses, because everyone has a very unique lens on it, right? So it's not in by necessary that just having a similar theme will rule out topics doesn't work. But because everyone has a different take. I mean, so my thing is everyone is unique. We are all some snowflakes, is what my belief is. So that's again, say what do you think?
Yeah, I was
What are you
just
guys planning to do?
about to say the same. I think sometimes a talk that is about other people's work versus a talk that is about your own work or reflections from your own process, there would be a bit of an advantage for someone who's actually done it versus somebody who is maybe looking at other people's work. So sometimes that gives you an edge. Sometimes you may take a very common area, but you have a new taxonomy, a new way of thinking about that field. So there is where you're adding value, right? So at the end of the day, as editorial, the team is going to look at what proposal adds value. So even if we have 10 talks on data storytelling, we will try and evaluate which one adds the most value. Like Anand said, we may also explore combining. We may also explore if there is something that is never seen before or never heard before that can, I think, also bring in. Any more questions? And thanks for asking that, Smriti. Yeah, I mean, what we have done is we have like 3 major themes. So we are hoping to club talks in one theme together. We'll try and see, like, that's a very great problem to have. Like, oh, we got so many submissions that we have to like combine stuff. I would love that we get that problem. And also always, we will try and have more events through the year. So you may also say this particular talk we'll hold off for the next year or maybe for an event during the year. Yeah, I don't, on the workshops, I sense that roughly like 2 to 4 workshops that are in person and maybe a few that are virtual seems like a realistic plan right now. So I hope that explains at least the workshop slot. The lightning versus standard talk will basically be a bit more fluid. We are planning a day-long conference, and therefore we will only have as much of slots. We roughly have a 30-minute standard and a 15-minute lightning talk, which also means that we have a lot better lightning talks. We may break a standard slot in our mind into 2 lightning talks. So I don't think we have a specific number yet, and I hope that doesn't deter you from submitting proposals anyway. Um, we are trying to make sure we get some of the details on parallel sessions, etc. But for now, and this is clearly TBD, might change. For now, we were hoping to do one main track, and we may have some occasions where we do something parallel as well. From a scheduling perspective, we still have to do this. We haven't done any of this part yet. It will only happen after we have enough talk proposals.
Also, I'm just wary of time because I realize we're at the 90-minute mark. But if you do have questions, I mean, feel free to drop them into the chat. But if not, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so we have a pretty fledgling community on WhatsApp that you can sort of really dip into any questions. I think find co-collaborators or co-conspirators for some of your ideas. If you have questions and you're probably a little afraid to ask in such a large setting, feel free to message us or email us. Here are our details. But thank you a lot of you for attending. I realize a Saturday morning is sometimes left for an extra bit of sleep or doing your own errands. So I'm really glad that a lot of you attended this conversation, and hopefully it was helpful. And if and we're a pretty open community, we're happy to keep answering questions. I think hopefully we've demonstrated that we're not unapproachable people. But just bombard us away. We're, I think, on all social platforms in case you want to message us directly. Anyone else wants to add anything before we wrap this up?
Yeah, so just to put it out there, the conference is on 27th June, which is a Friday, and then Saturday, 28th June. Workshops will happen on the second day, and talks and lightning talks are happening, I think, on 27th. Just to clarify that we are looking at June 27th for this.
Yep, and we will send a recap of what happened today along with relevant links, frameworks, a link to the proposal, basically a quick recap of the entire call today. We'll send across as a message, and we'll also post on the hashtag.